Alright, I'm almost set up. That's what I get for doing chores beforehand. It's always tough to estimate how long those are going to take. So let's see. Okay, looks like we are as live as we're gonna get. Yeah. Alright. And what else do we need set up? Oh, I should probably tweet out that it's finally happening. Alright. Oh man, I feel like I'm almost ready. It's just like one of those like so close to being ready, but also not. Alright, it looks like it thinks we're still doing Canvas game development. Maybe that's true. I don't know. Alright, let's get a pretty look at myself and the screen. You're familiar with maybe both of these at this point. But you know, I don't blame you if you're not. If this is your first time by, hello, welcome. And if this is not your first time, then welcome back. I never know how to open these things. I never know how to end them either. It's real awkward. Real awkward. Alright, so I am just, sorry, behind the scenes, like getting all my like moderation tools up and all that. You know, just regular streamer stuff, but usually it's done because people are way more prepared than me. Mr. Wolfgang, welcome back. Let's see, we got some options to work on. We got maybe some fun stuff. I did not get any Twitter engagement with suggestions on what I'm going to do today, but I certainly have a good handful of projects that we can potentially revive and or work on. So let's see. So I'm actually going to make sure that what I said is true, and no one actually, you know, that no one actually had any suggestions. All right, no suggestions. That's okay. Okay, so let's see what we got living in the old code directory. Oh, we could work on some FERP stuff. I've got some interesting things that I'm working on there, involving generators and a lot less code, and it could be very fun, but it's also a very large breaking change, and it's complicated. But maybe that's fun. Our function generator is still cool. Do people still, you know, look at those in awe and go like, "Oh yes, the the faithful function generator, exactly the way I remember it." I don't know. Let's see. Oh man, sometimes I just don't know how to use the Twitch moderation tools. They always seem a little backwards to me. Who cares? It's fine. Okay, so I got some stuff, and we're gonna do that stuff. That's all right. I think we're doing FERP, because this will be kind of fun in a way that I don't know if it'll be fun. It'll be exciting though. And sorry, I lost a window here. There we go. I think if I put that window there and I make this window just a little shorter. Yeah, I can work with that. Cool. How's everyone doing today? I feel very disorganized and unprepared, but hopefully, I guess it's just for the time being, just Wolfgang. So, how's Wolfgang doing? Oh, there's maybe more than just Wolfgang. Oh, it's it's a Restream bot. That always makes me a little excited. I'm like, oh yeah, Restream bot, or it's some hidden person on Twitch. It's one of the two. Oh yeah. Hey, I was the same way. My wife had some friends over yesterday, so I basically did nothing productive. And then today I was working on refinishing my kitchen island, which is actually what I was doing and why I wasn't on time at all. Look at that. Oh yeah, it's coffee time too. Today we're back to good old oh man, what's my favorite kind of coffee? Now I can't even think of the name. They're not a sponsor though, but my brain's poop. I'll think of it. Kicking Horse. There we go. Kicking Horse Coffee. That's this stream is not brought to you by Kicking Horse Coffee, the coffee that kicks the horse. No, they're not a sponsor. I just really like their coffee. I don't have any sponsorship. By the way, if you're a company that sponsors streams and you're a coffee company, you can sponsor me, and I'll put a little coffee ad in my streams for you, and it'll be great. As I stumble through sentences, and every company's like, yeah, I'm not gonna sponsor that guy. But it's a missed opportunity, you know. Like, I think a lot of developers drink coffee. This is you know, the I don't know, the perfect opportunity. All right, so code. There's some code things. It's gonna be great. I really wish I separated out the new code I was working on and the old code. See, can I find like a nice diagram tool? Is there like a nice like mind map diagramming thing that anyone knows about? Let's just do mind map diagram free online into Google, and canva.com. What are you? You look like I need to create an account, and I don't know if I want to do that. I sure don't. Well, you know what? Why not? It's free forever. When someone says free forever, it just makes me excited. So I'm going to try and like outline if I can get this application thing running. Okay, I don't want a template. Let's just pull this over here so you can see all of my struggles. Elements. Oh, I see. Then I can minimize that. Okay, I don't need a grid. I just want. Oh, okay, we got some shapes. All right, we're gonna roll with it. Oh, and then certain shapes are free and not free. Oh no. Oh no, I can't add text. This is I'm so confused. I thought the idea of a mind map was like a bunch of connected ideas, and this is not that. Not that at all. Okay, I'm gonna bail from that now that they have my email address and probably other identifying information. MindMeister. Okay, let's check it out. Create your own collaborative thing. Oh hey, now everyone gets to see my work account. Shh, don't go on there. Of course I agree with your terms and privacy policy, but I don't agree to get your updates. Oh man, let's see. I am personal and home. That's the kind of usage I'm gonna. Oh cool. All right, this is neat. I'm already happy. This is like 100% what I want. Okay, so we got like, can I edit you? Yeah, new mind. Yeah. How do I? Oh, I see. There's getting started. I don't want a getting started tutorial. What do I look like, a guy who needs to get started? Okay, so we got like verb.js, and that's like the core thing, which should be reasonably easy. Now that I skipped the getting started, I'm like, I don't know how to do anything else. Let's click the plus button. Oh yeah, okay. I already feel good now. I like intuitive things, right? I see a plus button and it works the way I think it is. So this has a message router. So this is a new thing. Also, it's not spelt well. There we go. Okay, and this is like the thing that connects all the pieces. And from the message router, everything is kind of a middleware. So by default, you're gonna get like state manager. But then quite separately you can get a subscription manager, and those are going to be the two like main built-in things. But you know, what if you had oh, no, not from there. What if you had like a I'll call it the superfine manager. So basically you know, so if I want to make a hyper app thing. Yeah, I thought I could do it. Oh, okay, I just have to enter twice. Oh my goodness. Wolfgang, I love you. If I were a gay man, I would be your friend. Because I don't want to make this any weirder than what I'm already starting to do. I'm so sorry. This is how people unsubscribe to me. You know, all 5 people that are subscribed, they might be gone now. I'm gonna shut up now. But yeah, so then you could like basically like add some sort of like generator middleware. So like for instance, I could do like a React manager middleware thing as well. And so this is kind of, it's a nice thing because all these are independent middleware. So for instance, state has its own internal state management, and subscription has its own interstate management where it knows like which subscriptions have started and ended and all that. And then like Superfine can have its own like DOM management, and React I guess would probably like hook into like some sort of like context or some form of state manager not unlike Redux. So that's sort of what I'm going with, or going for. And everything's a generator. And I don't know what I think about that. Hey man, how's it going? How's life in France? I say that with a question, but I'm 99% sure it's France. So that's what I'm gonna roll with. Yes! Alright, so here's like the router I'm looking at. I got some mixed feelings about it because like essentially everything is internally a generator, but I expose like only a subset of functions just to like have like an API for it. And then like, for instance, my router has inboxes, so that's just like a thing that receives messages and then can like manage those. And for the most part, these are all like isolated pieces. Like it's very rare that one thing is gonna pump information to the next thing, other than I guess like state pumps to subscriptions and then would also pump out to like some sort of a view. Oh, nice. Front end dev lead. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I got recently upgraded to a like more of a full-time lead role at my work as well, but that was a little while ago. But it's been interesting and exciting and a little stressful and a little different, but it's been good. So hopefully you can have the same or better experience than I've had. But yeah, so right now I'm looking at upgrading how FERP works. So right now I've got a bunch of files, and these files all map out to a bunch of things. And most of those things I won't need anymore. Like I think I might need compare arrays still. I think I'm gonna ditch built-in subscriptions, which is funny because you know then on the flip side, Jorge for HyperApp is like doing the opposite. I got like built-in effects. I might get rid of delay and RAF, or request animation frame. I think those end up probably being out of scope for a lot of FERP stuff, since I'm hoping FERP is like more successful on the back end, but like it'll be capable of front end things. We'll see. What could be kind of cool is having some sort of app where a client is able to like maintain itself, but like the server is like the boss. So essentially you could have the same state management running on both the server and the client, and then occasionally the client would just like update based on the server. Yeah, so I'm doing a rewrite-ish of FERP. Hopefully the API from the user perspective will stay almost exactly the same, if not exactly the same. But behind the scenes, I'm replacing everything with generators and with like message routing. And I want to see if I can like bump up performance without having a bunch of like intertwined state. Like one thing we got some mixed feelings about is with like this is like my old code that would like run FERP, and this wasn't too bad, to be honest. Like I have a state manager, a message manager, but I can't remember if I use message manager too much. Yeah, probably not. I guess message manager is like was originally doing anytime you update state, it can like dispatch things. But I felt like this was like maybe too inspired by HyperApp, and I'm curious, using like the latest ES6 tools, what I can do to maybe trim this thing down to like 10 lines. I'm not sure if I can do it, to be honest. Yeah. So anyway, I got a router. I've got a signal. So signal's new. It's kind of a what's the, so in like C++ or C, if you're doing threads, there's like mutually exclusive locks, and there's another thing that's based on signaling, and I can't remember the name of it. Let's do, I know STL has something very similar. Now, let's just see, API by category. You know, just go off in the deep end with STL because why not? Oh, synchronization primitives. I think this will have it. Oh, there we go. Semaphores. So basically what I want to do is have a quittable app. And quittable is like, it's a little different than what I currently have in the application from like this version of HyperApp. So it returns like a cancel function, but I think the nature of it means that there's an additional tick in the app, which may or may not do the right thing depending on what sort of state management you're doing. But with generators, if I do function generator into MDN, so there's some neat things about generators. So for instance, I can like intentionally return, which like I think produces one more step of yield, but it's like an intentional, like, this is the end. So I think I can make everything work pretty well with that. And I think I've done something different. Like right now I have these quit signals, and I don't think that's actually what I want anymore. So I just had this thing where I had like kind of a localized state, and then I just have these two checks of if I signaled and then the actual signal step. And that would force an extra, I think, unintended tick. So, like, I don't know, if I were to make a app.generator.js, just so I kind of have my original app code, and then I could look at what this new one's going to look like. So let's see, I would have a star as router from router, and probably import star as state from state. And let's see, so if we exported a constant app, and this thing is going to look sort of similar for the time being, with the idea being that we could like rip out like subscription, and we'll be able to get rid of update too, because I sort of liked the V1 to V2 step we did in HyperApp that stepped away from Elm and had like isolated functions for state management. And like you could certainly do that with this update message style thing, but I don't know if I like it. Yeah. So alright, let's do init update subscribe, and let's see how this would look. So I think initially we need a router. So we're gonna say router make, I believe, is yeah, kind of like this a syntax where my modules are like truly isolated modules that I can export specific methods on. Which I guess like in some sense means that like each module behaves like a class. Like whether or not it does in reality is a different thing, but kind of like exposes an API that I feel like is testable without like having to create brand new objects. So we can take what we want from there. Anyway, so if I keep going with my signal thing for now, just to make my code work, so to speak. So if I do signal here, and we'll say signal equals signal dot make, then we're just going to pass in signal dot was signaled. Also, I don't know if was signaled is like signaled has two L's or not. This always looks weird to me when I read it. And English is just a pretty awful language, as any, especially non-native speaker, would agree with me on. I am a native speaker, and I know it's pretty awful. So, what can you do? As my friend Attila would say, what can you do when you live in a shoe? You love English. Well, I mean, like, so English is like super interesting. I want to be clear on that. I think the idea of like mushing together a bunch of languages is like a feat, right? Like the fact that we even have English as coherently as we do is amazing. But I think English is a mess of rules, but maybe every language is like that. I don't know. Let's see, what does this take? So this takes our signal dot was signaled. It also takes in our rotor, and then whatever our initial state was. I know un peu de français, which is, I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher French so badly. So, you know, in Canada, we've got like Quebec and New Brunswick mostly that are like pretty heavily French. So, like in high school, we had to learn it, but high school for me was like 12 or 13 years ago at this point, and the last French I did was grade 9, so we go up to grade 12 in Canada. I don't know what it is internationally. So, you know, like 12 years ago, and then 3 years ago on top of that. So about 15 years ago was the last time I like did any form of French that may be considered French, you know? And that's like Canadian French, which I think has some differences to like France French, or like generally like European French. Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so if I had those, I almost feel like this just doesn't take like an update. This would have to take something else. I guess still update, and then the update would just like have to receive the method. So this might be the only way I can actually do it. I was wondering if I can do it a different way, but I don't think that's the case. In fact, this app kind of feels like it should be a generator as well. So let's do function star app generator. Oh, North Bay. I'm familiar with it. I've got a couple friends that grew up there. I mean, it's a number of hours away from me, but yeah, that's cool. Canada's pretty legit. I'm biased, of course, so take from that what you will. Let's see. So if this were a while loop, and for now we'll say while true, and we're going to do const action equals yield state, something like that. And I think we don't really need to expose state at all, which is very interesting. So I think we can do that. And this is going to be like, from our state side of things, we have act and get. So we could do state.get. And then over here, this would be like state act action. So we'd have something like that. And we're going to pass in a signal. I guess this was, yeah, we'll do a full signal. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, my understanding is that, like, in general, Quebec is a lot more like Europe in terms of, like, what would you call it, like city planning and things. Like, it's definitely a lot tighter and stuff. And I think the public transportation is like I think there's quite a bit more public transportation and management there than there is in like even like somewhere like Toronto, which some people, if they're familiar with Canada, might think that's like the busiest place. I'm not convinced that it is. It's certainly very dense, but I think Quebec in general, especially around like the cities like Montreal, Quebec City, probably some other bigger places there too, are like very dense, like very narrow streets, a lot of housing. So that's cool. I'm actually surprised that that's not like the de facto thing at this point, because I don't know, that just seems super easy and very traceable too, right? Like if you have like a cell network, you can basically use some form of like blockchain to verify ticket purchases, and yeah, that seems super legit. So that's cool. I don't even know what to call this. Let's call this app. And do we need to pass the rotor in there? Yeah, I think so. So we'll do a signal rotor. Yeah, I bet. Jeez. So let's see. So state. Oh, there we go. So I got like state before, state after that we could hook on to for other things. So that maybe that's fine. So we have the update method as well. So I guess we got to pass that in. Ugh. No, I don't think that's I don't think that bugs me. I like having little side conversations. Gives me like a couple like minutes to digest what I'm working on, and then like kind of move on to the next step. So yeah, don't worry about that at all. So we're gonna squeeze that down and make this a little bigger. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so if we get an update loop, I guess with FERP you need subscribe. I like the idea of like HyperApp, where everything has to be driven through like interaction, which in like the world of like the UI, that interaction is definitely like, you know, user clicks on a button or whatever, but on the back end, that interaction isn't always clear. So I think subscribe needs to exist so you can integrate with like APIs. Because a part of me was thinking I could do away with subscribe, which might be possible. Like there's going to be some apps that are like if I did a command line app where I had something like, if that's my prompt, I could do like calculate like 5 plus 5 or something like that. And that obviously doesn't need a loop. Like I don't need any external interaction. So I could get away without subscribe there. But like for anything that's like a real back-end application, like a web server, I'd expect that you need some sort of effect manager handling like Express or like the bare bones stuff. So I guess it can be optional, but it's not won't be great. Okay, I'll have to digest that a little bit. Okay, but init, so I know init is always going to be a split of state and any effects. And by any effects, I mean an effect that can be composed. So, let's see, so we got our state make. I'm gonna need, I think I had another file in here for, I think I just called it effect. Yeah, I haven't written any tests for this yet. But it's, this is actually the only one that I couldn't figure out how to build into a generator, because like there's no there's no like tick for an effect. It's just like go do the effect and at some point come back and let me know when you're done. And this one's sort of interesting in the sense that, oh yeah, I have this thing where you can listen to state. I don't have anything wired up for that, so that's fun. But also, just like thinking this through a little bit, outside of a couple lines that aren't being used, I'm already at 22 lines, and the whole point was I want to have less lines than the initial app. And I feel like this generator, I feel like I don't need it. I think I was trying to do something clever that is not necessary. So let's get rid of that. The one thing too is I could get rid of subscribe and then just like expose a dispatch, because that was very much like the hyperwrap one way to do things. And that does simplify things quite a bit too, but it also means that like you're gonna get messy code, and I like the idea that people are like pushed down a particular path. I think I am going to get rid of update for now, though, because I'm not sure that I like it yet. Subscribe we'll need, and we'll need to do some sort of subscription manager. For state.make, one thing about that I don't know about either is I'm gonna. Oh, let's see. Let's make our effect manager. So effect is going to be effect make, and in this case we just need the writer. And here we can say effect dot run, and we're going to pass it init1, which should map to vaguely one of these things. So if we have a none, we don't do anything. If we have a batch, then we run all those effects. And if we have a defer, then do a promise, and then like resolve that promise, and then step through. If we have a thunk, okay. You can tell I don't have tests because I still have bugs in this code. So if I have a thunk, then run the thunk, and then come back here to run effects, and otherwise assume that I'm passing some form of a state. I don't like that. Don't like that at all. Okay, let's get rid of that. I don't think that's real. Because I think way back in the day I had this idea that like all messages to update the state were an effect, which is true for me. But if I don't have messages anymore, if I instead just have like state updaters, then I don't know that it would ever come through this run effect. Let's see. So we've got these two guys. So what if I got rid of this initialization? And if we pop open the good old state class, so here we like get a state. But what if this were a undefined? It's not necessary to initialize state to undefined. Yeah, I guess that's true. We can. I think if we just do that, that'll do the same thing. I don't think we need that. In fact, I'm going to go back to doing the whole true thing. So it's going to clean up some code here. We're going to get rid of signal. I think while we're at it. Alright, so I'm already starting to like that a little bit more. And then we almost need like a, I'm going to call this tick. It is technically like a dispatch, but we're going to just, I don't even know what to call this. I guess it's not really props, it's like a tuple. Ugh. So this would be state dot act, and then we're going to pass it. What do we do here? So if we passed a, I guess at this point it is a state. Because my act is like, it's not really a, this was set up to like take in a method, which maybe that's what I do. Because then I would have an init action. You know what? Let's see that one through. Let's see how weird it gets. All right, so we're able to set the state, and then after we set the state, technically we should get like current state. Maybe we'll just call this value. Let's call it value. I like that. And do we actually need that? I guess not, because effect, does effect have access to the state? No, but we should be passing in things to the effect. So that should be fine. Doesn't need to have any context of what it is. Other than I like the idea that state runs first. But because we don't care about that, like I almost feel like we don't need this wrapper on there. And by exposing like an identity function, that should be enough to run that as well. So I've got some mixed feelings on that. So it's time for some more coffee. I don't know, maybe I'll turn off my AC. So it's actually, we had a huge heat wave out in this direction for a couple weeks. And yesterday, it stopped raining. So 2 days ago it started raining. Yesterday it stopped raining and finally cooled things down enough to be pretty sane. But my upstairs still gets like kind of hot, just, you know, the nature of a house. So anyway, cool. So outside of like not having a subscription manager, let's see. Sorry, I just get notifications on my phone. See, so if we tick that, that runs effects, and then presumably we have something here that's and I guess here we need const value equals, and this would be like a, call this like subscriptions next, pass it in like a current state. I think we call it next. Because like we don't really need to know which subscriptions are active. Maybe that's like, would that be a useful API? Like almost like state specifically for subscriptions where you could at any point in time see which subscriptions are running. Is that useful? I guess that's useful for a debugger. You guys think of like any reason why that would be a bad idea? Or like not useful other than a debugger? I don't want to like build FERP with a debugger in mind, but I do want to make sure that it is easy to integrate some form of like debugging or some good thing. Any thoughts? It's okay if there's no thoughts on that. I don't know. Who knows? No, that's okay. okay. Like, I'm just like thinking out loud for the most part, because I've got like some pretty mixed feelings about subscriptions in general, because again, I think about like HyperApp 1 and how easy it was to take dispatch from like your main app instantiation, and you could just do whatever you want with it. And that's like in contrast to having like a set of subscriptions that FERP controls or HyperApp controls. I've got some mixed feelings, because it does add a layer of complexity, but also like a layer of correctness. And there's pluses and minuses to both. So yeah. Okay, well, I mean, we don't have to answer that immediately now, so that's good. What we can do, however, is, so I have this effect thing, and we don't have any tests for it. So let's write some tests. Now, one thing I've been having fun with, I don't know if fun is the right word, but writing tests for generators is like interesting, but not bad. Now, this one doesn't use a generator, so that's actually really nice. But yeah, for things that do use generators, so for instance, if I were to like pop open my my state test, actually I'll have to do that before I do the effect test anyway. So maybe this is actually going to be a great intro. Yeah, so maybe we'll just call this like, because I need a way to actually expose this generator as well. Maybe I get rid of that and just return generator, which I kind of like. I don't necessarily want to put layers over top of other things at all. So anyway, so I've got some stuff here. It's making like a quit signal, which we don't need anymore. But this we do need, like t.context.router dot I don't know, like what's a good way to say like to quit it, but like I guess the generator syntax is returned, so maybe I just use that. Like that. I think that's at least like good for like the model. And we don't need signal anymore for this. We are like modifying that, but that's just and this should be T, not R. And oh yeah, so one thing too, for people that are familiar with Ava, so one thing I can't figure out, that's kind of bothering me, is so I have like require ESM. I have, as far as I'm aware, the latest ESM. In fact, maybe I delete this and let's make sure that not wrong. So use and like yarn add dev ESM. Yeah, so that looks like that, and I require it. So what I should be able to do is I should be able to use import in here, but that's not working for reasons. So if I do import test from Ava, and we just like comment this like temporarily, I run this test. Oh, no, it does work. Yesterday when I was doing this, or yesterday, like a week or two ago when I was doing this, it was not working at all. So I wonder if I just had like some other thing going on that I couldn't trace. So okay, so if I run this, cool, that works way better than I thought it would. So we got that going for us. All right, and we don't need pass anything to the router now. What's the router need? Oh, it still has a quit signal. Well, let's get rid of that. This should be able to just do while true. And I don't get rid of that, so that's actually nice too. And what's going on here? Do a unreachable code. Is it unreachable? Oh, I guess sort of. Okay, well, I'm gonna comment that for now. So I need to understand maybe more about how like return works, because on exit for inboxes, I need to kill those inboxes, because each inbox itself is a generator. Which maybe it doesn't need to be. Maybe that's like too much. It's really just a callback. That's all it is. So maybe I'm just making more work for myself. Because I mean, there's no internal state. Yeah, you know what? Let's. Sorry, I'm like, when I was throwing this together, I was just like thinking, how much can I use generators? Which I know is like kind of stupid, but I like the idea of the generator. I want to figure out how I can use it best and what works and what doesn't work. Now, obviously, these inboxes it doesn't work, but as a router it does. So let's see. Here we have like inbox just passes data in. But, so we have a bunch of inboxes, and in reality what I want, we do like inbox.add. So this just like pushes the iterator in once, and then like sets the inbox. So what if the inbox really just becomes callback? And then inbox remove. All it's got to do is remove it. There's no magic. We don't need to send anything. It's literally just from this. So that actually feels very good. And then this, instead of inbox.next, just becomes like call the inbox if it exists. Then broadcast is much like that as well. Okay, so that means I don't need 49. Now there's no cleanup step. It's cool. Yeah, I sort of want to get rid of these, like, I'm gonna call them like magic strings. Like, these are like known things that make sense internally to have. So at some point I'm gonna have to like that. Okay, cool. And now that I've changed router's behavior, I believe I have some tests around that. So we don't need a quit signal anymore. So that's cool. We did want to have a return method though. So return is going to take in, call this message, but by default it's just going to be like an empty object. And here we're just going to do return router return message, which by default is just an empty message, and it's empty just in the sense that this won't die. Right, but basically you should get to this point and then just break it. Stop executing it. So we could actually change this so the router gets generated. So I'm going to steal the code over here. But now we don't need a quit signal. And we can just return it. And now we can just pull the router out of the context, and we don't need to build one. Which I sort of don't like. I'm going to be perfectly honest, because now the test feels like it's not self-contained. And I like tests where if I want to understand a feature, I can like look at a test and just go like, okay, I understand where the router came from. Whereas here, it's not as clear. But I like that we can do like nice cleanup as a result. So I don't know. Well, let's see if all these tests pass. So we do have QR as part of our API now. We've got this return. Cool. So all my messaging stuff still works, so that's good. So I'm going to close that. Now we're going to look at our state test. So we don't need anything to do with signals anymore. And we know we can bail from our router that. So let's get rid of quit. And let's get rid of this. This will be a little bit of effort. We don't take an initial state anymore, which is pretty nice. There's probably a couple new tests in here too, which are going to be interesting. Alright. So I'm going to skip that. And we're going to make a new test, and this one is just going to be it defaults to an undefined state, which I believe to be 100% true. We have a router, we make our state. And at this point, I guess I could put state in here as well, because now there's no like direct connection to initial state. That makes these a little cleaner, but at the expense of slightly less readability. So I guess we'll see how this goes. And if it sucks, then of course I can just pull these back. Yes. But I mean, this also gives us some neat opportunities, being that we self cleanup immediately. And we only need a state. Cool. So it defaults to an undefined state. So let's get that state. So this would be initial state. Actually, we can just do a deep equal. So initially it's what the actual value is. So this we're going to pull out. This will be state.next. This will be state identity. Pass in the identity function. And then we want to pull out the value from that. And we're expecting it to be undefined. Now I'm using deep equal here, but I think we can just use e. Actually, it might just be eq. Is. Let's go with that. So the first test passes, so it defaults to an undefined state. Cool. Now this next test is it reports a new state after acting. We'll just say it returns a new value done pair after calling next. So we get our next state, and this is going to have value undone. Cool. So and here we've got like a previous state, and that's probably not going to be 100% correct. Actually, you know what? Maybe this test is calling next with a new state object. Because there's two routes over here. There's if you have a function, then call like the function update, similar to a hyperwrap action. But then I also separately want like a you could dispatch like completely brand new state, and that would be used for like the init tuple. Right. So what's going on here? We've got state does next. Okay, cool. In this case, there's no previous state. We don't care. So we're going to expect that value is going to be foobar. And do I have I feel like I've got some sort of extra semicolon something, maybe not. But we're gonna say t false. Maybe we'll say is done false, so we know our iterator is still live. So let's see if we run that test. That runs as expected, so that's cool. And we're gonna say test it. Just get rid of all this. So it returns a new value done pair after calling next with an action function. Alright, so now we know we need to like push in a new state first, so we're going to do a state next, and we're just going to say like foo bar as our initial, and then we're going to do something like state next, this will be previous state, and we're going to merge that in. And we're gonna add be a fizz buzz. Yeah, that seems okay. All right, so we know that state const value done again. So we know that value is going to look a lot like foo bar and fizz buzz, and we also know that done should be false. Nice. Okay, cool. So that already feels much cleaner, and on top of that, my state manager code is really small. So just to compare, so we have this other state manager thing, which is about like, I'm gonna maybe add like a couple extra lines just for the sake of like, this is like, you know, like 5 lines, and in reality it's really just one. So if we go down like here, that's like 20 lines. This one's 22 lines. This could be certainly inlined. This actually, let's get rid of the things that we don't care about for the time being. So we do care about the router at some point in here, but it's not 100% clear what we want to do with that yet. You know what? We could. No. I don't like that. So anyway, this is that's that. I don't know what else to say about that, but we've got about 19 lines, give or take. If we we do that, we've got 17 lines. 17, 18, somewhere around there. Maybe we don't even need router in here, which could be interesting. That might actually be very true. Let's get rid of router. We're not using it yet anyway, so I'd rather wait until we're using it. which means that we can go into our state test and ditch it. Because at the end of the day, what I want is I want all of the pieces that like connect together. I want them to be 100% isolated. So locally for tests, I can test everything without having to do a lot of like mental gymnastics. And other people would be able to contribute. Like, this isn't that bad, right? Like, you know that even if you don't understand generators, that somehow you're going to pass either an update function or like a new state to the generator, and that's going to like update it, and then we're just going to like wait until we get the next thing. So I don't think that's going to be too bad. Like, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. And even the tests aren't that awful to read. Like, give or take, you have to like go up here and sort of understand that this is building a generator for us and then kicking it off, which is also a little confusing with generators. Like this should probably be like kind of these two together like that. Anyway, so that's that. And this was a long way of saying we want to test our ability to run effects. This could be a generator. Yeah. Also, are we actually using router at all? Other than passing it iteratively? Actually, this will need some form of routing. Oh, right. Okay, I remember this. So basically, at the end of the day, an effect has to return like something, and that something could be don't do anything. So maybe you make some sort of like arbitrary call out to the internet, or you need some way to like re-enter the loop, and I think that's why. So originally I deleted this thinking that didn't need any interaction with the router, but I think this is actually like gonna be like router send. Oh, there we go. Send, and we're gonna basically do like state update. Sure, that's what we'll call it. This is again one of those magic things that we're gonna have to deal with. Now it looks like my convention is using period, so we'll do state update, and this is going to be I guess effect. Yeah, I guess it's really just effect in general. So the type either didn't line up with anything. These are all like symbols too, so there's not going to be any collisions unless someone does something weird. So I think it's I think that'll be okay. And then update state should be smart enough to like know what to do with this. So this could be a function, or it could be an object or whatever. Which, I don't know, I've got some mixed feelings because no, that should be fine. Because if an effect does nothing, it needs to use effects none, and otherwise we have to assume that this relates to like pushing a new update. So I think that's okay. So let's do import test from Ava. And we're going to do import star as effect from effect. And I guess we need a router. So let's go into the router tests, because that does all the setup that we need. So we're going to do import star as router from router. And then I guess we can make the effect runner as well. That shouldn't be that big of a deal. Also, so this like exposes run, but it could just expose a method. Like if I do that. Now, the reason I want to maybe do that is like there's nothing else an effect would do. Other than I could like move, I guess maybe all the core effects into this. Which could be fine, but then I think my tests are going to get blown up because then I have to like import all my tests into that as well. I don't know. I'll digest that for right now, but let's just do t context effect equals effect dot make, and pass the rotor in there, so that'd be t context rotor. Also, I just realized I was like, man, it's real quiet in here, and I realized I didn't have any tunes going, and my tunes are definitely going through. Oh, is my headset maybe? Yeah, okay, cool. And let's of course get some good tunes in here. I've got like all sorts of weird stuff, but we're gonna go with some Gary Clark. Okay, so we don't need to do any cleanup with effects, so that's cool. So let's see, what's the thing about effect? So we can say it runs a none effect, and we know that does nothing. So we got that going for us. Now on top of that, we might need to bring Sinon into this. So in the case where we have like thunks, in fact maybe just thunks, we might have to test the thunk first, which I think will be fine. But a thunk is going to be a way for us to know for sure that like all the steps have happened. So let's see. So we've got like after these run effects. I'm trying to think what's going to be the nice way for us to expose this. And what I mean by that is like there's no way for me to know when some of these things are done. So this could turn into a map, and that at least gives me some info. And what else? Well, let's try and turn this into return. So this could be a return null, and this could be a return effect.effects map. Now I was kind of avoiding using map and like the array functions on here because I wanted something that was like a tight loop. So there's only delays because someone has intended there to be a delay. And as soon as you start like queuing up methods like this, I think the order of execution can like it can take the opportunity of like when you call a method to pause whatever you're doing and like go do like scheduled things like intervals and timeouts and whatever. Whereas this would prevent that from happening until you call this like run effects. Now there's going to be like two steps that are causing maybe delays, but maybe not. I don't know what I think about that. But for now, we're just say run effect fx rotor. I guess we can test this one first, that it just like routes a state update. But yeah, like mostly the problem that I'm trying to think through is like, how do I handle the promise then? Because there's no guarantee of when the promise is done until like I can chain off it. So this gives me the ability to run like an await against this method. So what's this complaining about for fat error? Oh, just inconsistent return. Okay, that's fine. these breaks, and okay, we can simplify this a little bit too. Okay, well that's not too bad. Now in comparison, so if I open up my old effect manager, got this, so that's about 20 lines, but I kind of compressed this, and I don't know if I like what I did here. So this did like, everything was forcibly a promise that you could step through, but it didn't always make sense for that to even exist, and caused like a bit of overhead. So this is smaller, but I've got mixed feelings about its efficiency. But even here, like for batch, there's like a reduce then, which means that promises would be chained in a batch, and I don't think that's what I would ever want. I think that would be a huge performance thing. So yeah, I think the minimal code actually results in worse performance. So this code is a little longer, but should perform way better. And in fact, like this could be tidied up a little bit, right, to that, and that gets rid of like an extra line. And even this. So I mean, it's still not like perfect, like in terms of the other thing. But I guess there's also 2 extra lines here, so it ends up being pretty close to 20 lines, and maybe more readable. Whereas the object lookup, well, that might actually be pretty efficient. So I might change this a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so we're gonna say test. It can route a message if the effect does not match a core effect type. I sort of want to like change the wording on this, but we'll come back to it. But essentially, I want to describe that effects can result in like an update. You know what? That's what it is. It can result in an update if an effect returns a function or state like value. Maybe we'll say you know what, let's start with an action function. And then we'll have another test with the state like update, and it's going to be the same stuff. Okay, so first we need to make a new inbox. So this is where Sinon comes in, I think. Cool. So we're going to make state update inbox is going to be Sinon.fake. And I think we can, you know what, I don't think we need to do anything with that. So we're going to do t context router add inbox, and this is going to be state update inbox. And yeah, I guess we just run it. So we'll say, well, we'll do async await on all these tests too. Not that this one uses a promise, but just so it's clear that we can await it or chain off of it under certain circumstances. So we're going to do await, and we're going to pull out effect. And I guess router in this case. T.context. So we're going to await effect. And so effect already has a reference to the router, so it can fire off this update. In this case, we're going to just say Just as long as it's not, you know what? Let's make it look like an action at least. With empty object. This part doesn't really matter, but I want to make it like clear what's being passed in and why it should work the way that it does. And ultimately, what we should see is that state update inbox was called with fake action with empty object. I think that's going to be the case. So we're going to say t dot is state update inbox dot call count 1 and t deep equal a state update inbox dot. Oh, actually, we can say called once with exactly. Oh, that'll actually take care of both these things. So this will be just t truthy, and we know it should have been called with fake action with empty object. And we're gonna just get rid of this thing here. What's going on here? So not import should occur before. Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay, so let's run that test. Router add inbox is not a function. Okay. So like, while I don't fully disagree with that, at the same time, I mean, oh, I see, this still takes a quit signal? I thought I got rid of that. I certainly got rid of this. Okay. So it certainly looks like we should have access to add inbox. So just for fun, let's just do a console.log. Actually, I think there's a tlog t context. Let's just see what's going on in there. And that's a little tough to read, so I'm just gonna here and do a yarn test. Yarn test source ferp, and this one is effect test. All right, so router on there certainly looks like it has inbox add, which as we can all see is not typed correctly at all. All right, that's better. So let's much smaller again, and get the realign itself. Yay! Okay, so that seems like a lot of code for this test, but I don't know how to make it less bulky. So we're gonna roll with that, but maybe we'll revisit it. Okay, so it can result in an update. It can route a state update if an effect returns a state-like value. So in this case, we'll say like foo bar to be state like value. That should be called once with exactly fake state like value. Oh yeah. These other ones shouldn't be too bad because we don't need to do anything with Sinon with those. Well, I guess Thunk will need Sinon. I mean, like, this proves that at least does, well, it does one thing. There's a bunch of cases that we don't, so. Then router, like, I guess we could validate that it just doesn't send anything. Then I need to do some form of like faking on that side. But maybe we fake the router so we don't even make it, because technically we don't need the inbox part. Maybe we can some stuff here. Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's just make our router something that has send, and that is just a Sinon fake. Now we don't really need to this part. This just becomes router dot send calls exactly once with state update, and that feels better. Then I can just like guarantee that that wasn't called at all. All right, so I can live with that. So let's get rid of our fake inbox stuff there, and let's just be router dot send. Shit. What's going on here? After each hook, oh, because we're doing dot return there, and now we don't need that. So nice. Okay, so all those two things are true. We can say test. It does nothing when it encounters effects none. Alright, so we'll need to bring in as effects from effects core at this point, so this we will that, and await effect dot, I guess effect, and then we're going to just pass in effects none. We know for sure this returns a null, so we'll keep that. T is actual, and expected will be null. That's nice and easy. And then we know T, let's say truthy. This will be router dot send dot let me just be lazy here. They're like not okay, just not called. That's really the only option at that point. So it's nice and easy. Objective promise return test reason. Read or send not called is not a function. Apparently not called, in spite of it showing up, doesn't actually exist. That's not test. Geez. It can batch multiple effects. All right, so in this case, we're going to say deep equal, and we're going to batch out like 3 nuns. Or maybe just 2 though. Maybe 3. Alright, and we know, based on this, that we should get null, null, and null. Because that is the return value in this case. And we know that we don't send anything, and we know to sync in here. Async. Go. Nice and easy. And then another thing is that this is iterative, so we could like do a batch with a batch with a batch. So let's actually do that. This batch, I think, will be the easiest one to demonstrate that. But I guess deferring. Okay, so we'll say it can batch. I guess it's just nested batch and nest batch effects. Alright, so we know we should get a null and then an array of 2 nulls at the end of that. Alright, so this one is it can defer a promise. Alright, so I guess this one should be easy. We'll say promise is going to be promise resolve true. May say foo. This will be defer, and should be deferring our promise, and we expect the string foo to come out. And also that we're not sending anything in this case. Oh, so we got a null out of that, so that's interesting. So why is that? So we return the promise, then we run effect. Oh. This would actually, this should. Yeah, so because this is resolving that string, it's actually doing this route. Which means we can update this to called once with exactly state update and then foo. Oh, and then this would be a Oh, what do we got here now? So we're still expecting. Oh, yeah. We know this will return a null for us now. Yeah, because both none and send return a null. What do I think about that? I don't know what I think about that. Mostly like, maybe this variant could return the effect that it ran. Or basically like our state update. But maybe that doesn't make sense too. I've got really mixed feelings on it. Okay, I mean, like, don't necessarily take my example of streaming as what you should do, because I'm questionably good at it. Heavy questionably. Although at some point I want to set up a soundboard so I can at least do some like strange sound effects when I'm doing my stuff, but but that's like, I don't know, just totally silly. Oh, I would love to do some pair programming on a stream with someone. So that would be a very nice cross-pollination of streaming, which I would be very happy to do. Or live, yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, if we do that, it almost becomes like a podcast of sorts, which could be fun as well. Yeah, I mean, I'd be cool with functional JS podcast. I don't even know if that exists. Does that exist? Let's see. Practical functioning or functional programming in JavaScript. Is this a podcast or is this something else? Oh, so this is like an episode of this podcast, and I don't really know. I don't know how to like see what series this is, or if dev chat is like. Clean coders. Poor Bob. Sharing some opinions, and things are going bad for him. JavaScript. Oh yeah. Yeah, this. So yeah, that's I think within the realm of possibility. So also, I've been streaming for about 2 hours, and I told my wife I would be streaming for 2 hours. So I'm gonna finish up these tests, and then I'm going to receive all of your virtual high fives, because you all of course think that I do an amazing job. And then we'll call it a stream. Okay, so it can defer a promise. I also want to do an effects none on this though. So this would return that promise back. Oh no, that's technically a new promise at that point, but we could do something like, no, I think this is fine. Then we'll let's do a is router send call count 0. Okay, cool. And then promise can obviously chain multiple things in there. Well, I guess running effects none kind of demonstrates that, but we could do, just for the sake of making sure it can like nest anything that we expect. This would just become, I think, an array with one null in it. Can defer a promise that resolves a nested effect. I mean, that's sort of what this thing does too. All right, so oh, these are deep. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there we go. So it can defer a promise that resolves a state update. Let's do that just so it's like clear, and then this just becomes a foo, and then this one shows like the recursive nature. So I think that'll be okay. This should still resolve a null for the time being, and then this would be this would become a truthy called once with exactly state update and the string foo. Oh yeah. And so that covers defer pretty well, I think. So do test. It can run a thunk function that resolves a state update. I shouldn't say resolves, that returns. And I'm going to just kind of add most of this, and this just becomes let's get rid of that, and this could just become like next state is going to just be foo. This will have to be a function that returns that. And we should see that come through at the next state. Which I guess I could like pull that into a variable here as well. Hey, what's going on down here? Oh. What do we have here? Rejected promise because effect thunk. Oh yeah, it's effects dot thunk. Oh, what? Well, let's see effect coming through. Alright, so, oh, I see, it's method, not func. That's how they get you. Cool. Right, and then, so, let's see, do the nested version as well, which I kind of like using the batch as a nested thing, because then batch is, like, pretty thoroughly tested. Defer a promise that resolves a nested effect. Well, this is not defer a promise anymore. It can run a thunk that turns a nested effect. So we don't need that, but we do need thunk. And this thunk is going to run effects.none. Actually, maybe we'll just... And we know... Oh, this should actually be thunk returns effects batch. Cool. Nice. And what's the last one? Well, that's actually it. That covers all that. Cool. So I think this is the future of FERP, is like kind of this generator piece together thing. I would love to hear anyone's comments on that. I mean, this effect testing sort of didn't demonstrate it very well, but certainly like the state code is like a really great example of it. Oh, we did a lot of things in here too. We got rid of that quit signal piece altogether, and I really like that. I'm gonna have to do some more management in like the main app code, but maybe that'll all balance out. I'm also gonna ditch anything that does any transpiles. In terms of, I don't want to support like Babel things. I want to support pure node. And as a result, I think that should be a pretty small compile once I like just kind of like collapse all these files into each other. But yeah, let me know what you think about this by if you're on YouTube. I think you can comment on the video, whereas I think on Twitch, when it shows like, I guess, my previous streams, I don't think there's any ability to comment on that, but you could do it on YouTube. So if you see this on YouTube and you sat through like 2.5 hours and and you're like, oh wow, he's doing something really cool with FERP, or like, man, this is shit, I can't believe he's doing that, you can let me know, and I will respond to your feedback if there is a reasonable response I can make. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna do the fun stuff. If you like my stuff, those are places that you can support me financially, and that just ensures that I have dedicated time and equipment for recording streams. And it may also mean in the future I do more YouTube videos that are maybe a little more polished and a little less of me like bumbling on a live stream. So if you want to see more of that, then these well, there we go. These two guys are the things that you want. Of course, you can find all of my other links, including the GitHub, Spotify, and Patreon on my website, which is there we go, right there. And then you can follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. And you can also chat with me directly in HyperApp Slack. That's probably your easiest bet. However, for FERP, I also have a Gitter chat, which some people know about, some people don't. It's not very active, but you could follow all the links from my site to FERP to Gitter, and that like just follow the trail or something like that. And of course, I love having you here, all of you. So thank you, old friends and new. And that's all I got. So have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And I will see you in maybe 2 weeks. 2 weeks. But we'll see if there's more progress done here. All right. Bye.